Good morning and welcome. My name is Liz, and this is another episode of Original versus Sequel.
Yeah, it's Liz. Yeah, it's Liz. Taking shots and doing stuff with Liz.
Today we'll be deciding which live-action Scooby-Doo movie is superior. Scooby-Doo or Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. The original's plot feels like a sequel. The mystery gang has fallen apart, but are reunited on a spooky island in order to solve a mystery. In the sequel, they're back in Coolsville and there's a bunch of monsters that are unleashed, hence the name, Monsters Unleashed. Neither of them get the coveted plot point, and that's just my decision.
That's my opinion!
Both movies get a point for having a phenomenal cast. Like, these are extremely talented actors, so there's nothing funnier than, like, watching them dress in monochrome and make fart jokes. But let's get specific. The entire soundtrack is ska.
Scooby-Doo, where are you? We got some things to do now.
Like, while we're bringing back, like, devastating plagues, let's, like, bring back ska, you know? Daphne is such a badass in this movie, it's incredible. She's like, I'm done being a damsel in distress, I'm going to train to turn my body into a weapon. They're comparing the mystery gang to a banana split, and someone says, Fred, you're the big banana. Maybe I hate that. Just how obvious it is that Shaggy is a stoner, and just how much I did not get it when I watched the movie as a kid. Are Scooby snacks edibles? You tell me. An island for college kids to go on spring break called Spooky Island? I wish it were real. This point is for Isla Fisher. Yes, she's in this movie. She's blonde, her name is Mary Jane, she's incredible. And Shaggy says, that's like my favorite name. How did I not get it?
You're not very pretty, and you're not very bright.
Scooby dressing in drag to get on the plane and then literally punching Fred in the face. The random character Melvin Dew.
Wait, what you mean Melvin Dew?
Can you see where I'm Melvin Dew? That guy doing a voodoo ritual with a store-bought frozen chicken. Scooby-Doo knows how to read. Remember that. The monster is genuinely terrifying. Like, as a kid, that's creepy. As an adult, a little scary. They all end up in the spooky island castle, and they're like, Velma, why are you here? And she's like, I just wanted to scare the patooties out of Daphne. They're literally dating. The like 5-minute sequence of Scooby-Doo and Shaggy just burping and farting in different ways. Classic. Scooby hiding himself in that suitcase was the blueprint for Villanelle doing so in Killing Eve. The undeniable cinematic parallels between this movie and Get Out. I said it. If the fact that they take over bodies isn't enough for you, just watch this scene with Fred.
Yo, the biatch was like, what? And I was like, later on.
That is trying to appropriate AAVE. Just like any of those old white motherfuckers in Get Out who are like, this party is lit. Mary Jane has a friend named Beth Ann.
I saw my friend Beth Ann.
And I went by Beth Ann for the first 13 years of my life and I never heard anyone else called that. So that was nice. Don't call me Beth Ann. Mary Jane then getting whacked by that branch, and then you find out that she's been a monster this whole time. What a twist. Just Matthew Lillard constantly giving the performance of his life.
Anyway, so.
To like a tennis ball on a stick. He then says, Scooby-Doo, where are you? That's the song. The reveal that Mr. Bean has been Scrappy-Doo the whole time? Quelle surprise! Velma says the phrase, let's get jinky with it. Daphne kicking the shit out of that wrestler and showing off all of her moves. All the while in platforms. The talent. Scrappy Cornelius Dew going to jail. How can you send a dog to jail? I don't know, but I'm glad they did. Prison for Scrappy. Alright, let's give the sequel points. There is a stretch limo version of the mystery van. All of their red carpet outfits for the museum opening are incredible. But Shaggy's outfit is literally the same one that Ron had to wear to the Yule Ball. Alicia Silverstone is that bitch. Like, this movie taught a whole generation about misinformation. That rhymed. Seth Green, as the curator of the museum, is hot. Like, the key to my heart is just to dress like a history professor from the 1940s. AKA Indiana Jones. Velma has a tool belt built into one of her skirts. Like, honestly, that's a great idea, and I'm thinking about it. Old Man Wickle's doorknob just is a trapdoor, and he has trapped in his basement Mormons, Girl Scouts, and now the entire mystery gang. Love that. Daphne uses makeup techniques in order to break the lock of the trap that they're in. And she says, I love being a girl. There's power in femininity. Shaggy bumps into a gramophone and it starts playing I Like Big Butts. Scooby's being chased and he runs up a wall. Is that parkour?
Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime!
Velma and Daphne are being attacked by a ghost knight, and Velma's like reading how to defeat it while Daphne fights it. And then Daphne, standing, slides down the banister of a spiral staircase. Amazing. Daphne's trying to coach Velma on a date, and she says what really scares you is intimacy with another person. Damn. Latex. That's it. There's like a little bar just for villains. That's so cute. I'm glad they have a place to hang out and commiserate. Seth Green taking matters into his own hands, going down to the dock and roughing someone up so he can try to find out who's stealing from his museum. And then he screams at Shaggy and Scooby. It is totally off the rails. It is absolutely amazing. Scooby like drinks a potion and makes himself really smart, and he has like this flowers for Algernon moment, and he's literally like, nope, I can't do this. I want to go back to blissful ignorance. Shaggy says, this is tied for the scariest day of my life. Velma says, tied with what? And he goes, every other freaking day of my life. Hilarious. Fred on a motorcycle jousting with a ghost knight. Amazing. Shaggy and Scooby getting trapped inside of a warehouse with a cotton candy monster, and then they're like, wait a minute. And they eat the cotton candy monster. The whole twist that the evil guy is actually the reporter, Alicia Silverstone, who is actually Dr. Jacobo, the original pterodactyl ghost. Also, the final twist that Old Man Wickles and Dr. Jacobo were enemies because they both wanted to play the part of Eliza in My Fair Lady in prison. Hilarious. Alright, now that we've got our points, let's take some away. Scooby-Doo ignores a bunch of clues, and we're supposed to believe that it's because he can't read, but we know from the original movie that he can read. Also, Scooby-Doo is bilingual because he can talk to dogs, so I just am very confused about how intelligent he actually is, okay? He can solve mysteries, he can talk, he can read, but he can't drive. I just want like a full-length dissertation on how smart Scooby-Doo is. Fred's hair is horrible. He looks like Keith Urban. Shaggy's hair, also a hate crime. Shaggy and Scooby have like this identity crisis where they don't think that they're good detectives, but they've like literally been with the mystery gang for just years. So it's like, why is it coming this late in the game? There's those weird potions and it turns Scooby into the Tasmanian devil, which is funny, but it gives Shaggy boobs, and that's just awkward, and he's weird about it, and it's really bad CGI too, so the machine and formula just make the monsters real, but it's like all of the monsters are very different and require different things. Do they just glean that from what the costume looks like? I don't understand. The like news show is called Investigative Probe. Girl, that's a colonoscopy. Someone says the phrase, they're turning Coolsville into Ghoulsville. Gross. The flashback to when they were in high school is really cute, but Scooby runs smack dab into a tree, and I just feel like he would die. And my theory is that he did die, and they got another Scooby, and they named him Scooby-Doo, but he can't say that because he's a dog, so he said Scooby-Doo. Because he's not the real Scooby. I know it's actually just Scooby's last name. You don't have to come for me. This is an official complaint about Scooby's name. When asked, who do you think you are? He says, Scooby, Dooby, Doo. So are we to infer that his middle name is Dooby? Because if so, why is his first name officially Scoobert? Scoobert, Doobert, Doo. Velma is hanging from a walkway. She would just like sprain an ankle if she fell, it's okay. And Seth Green is like, do you trust me? And she says, I only trust the facts. And he's like, what does your heart say? I love it, I hate it. Shaggy puts on the monster costume and Scooby thinks that he's a monster even though he saw him do it. So that means that Scooby doesn't have object permanence. So he knows how to read, but he doesn't have object permanence. I don't understand. I don't understand it. Okay, let's destroy the original. The ghost at the beginning grabs Daphne's ass. That's not cool, even for a ghoul.
Bars.
Fred signs an autograph with a ballpoint pen. He's a psycho. Whenever Scooby-Doo dresses up as a grandma, Velma and Daphne are like, this is insane, it's never gonna work. And Fred is like, oh, who is this? So how dumb is Fred? Ruh-roh. There's a full bar on the plane. They're in economy. You don't get a margarita in economy, you get spit on. Mary Jane eats dog food and we're supposed to be like, oh, that's so cute. Grow up. Scooby-Doo has a history of domestic violence. It's true. He punches Fred on the plane and then later he kicks Shaggy, his best friend. When will his violence end? Just Fred mansplaining in general. Like, I worked as a carpenter, I've been mansplained enough to in person. I don't want to see it in a movie. It's revealed that Shaggy drinks out of toilets.
What's wrong with you?
What? I'm very confused as to when Mary Jane turns evil. Like, was she a monster the whole time and she was working undercover to get Shaggy to like her and that's why they're so perfect for each other? Or does she actually eat dog food?
I'm just disappointed.
This point is for Fred saying biatch.
The biatch.
He belongs in prison with Scrappy Cornelius Dew. The soul soup is absolutely terrifying. The part where they all switch bodies is fun, but Daphne and Velma's shirts get lower cut, and I think it's just so whenever they do this, you have to see their boobs.
What the hell?
Also, it's really gross whenever Fred is in Daphne's body and he's like, I can look at myself naked. Like, no, consent is still necessary in this situation. The monster is called taking over the world the Dark Apocalypse. Didn't try very hard. Buff Scrappy-Doo haunts me every waking moment of my life. The robot that Scrappy-Doo is in is so incredibly good. How is it not in the Uncanny Valley? Like, that is superior technology. How does Scrappy-Doo get his hands on it? His paws on it, sorry. Also the fact that it's like a real supernatural thing happening and not just a guy in a mask. Like, how does that bode for the belief system of the Mystery Gang? These are real monsters. How do you corroborate that with your previous understanding? I really did not know who was gonna win. I really love both of these movies. They're absolutely incredible. Anytime you bring a cartoon into the real world, there are a lot of decisions you have to make. How far is the audience willing to suspend their disbelief? How far are you gonna exaggerate from the real world? And both of these movies do a really great job of it. In conclusion, the superior live-action Scooby-Doo movie is Scooby-Doo 2. Monsters Unleashed. Anyways, thank you so much for watching original versus sequel. If you disagree with the winner, please let me know in the comments and tell me which pair of movies should go head to head next. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned next week for a new video. Bye! Monkey!